My biggest key to victory for the Aggies over the Mississippi State Bulldogs is the defense needs to have 5+ sacks.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50+ infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss keys to a victory for Texas A&M over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I'm going to talk about why the defense needs to get pressure first, and then I'll get straight into some quarterback conversation. My opinion has changed a little bit. Both QB1s for both teams we will discuss and just here in a moment. So that should be a fun talk. But defense needing to get 5+ sacks. The pressure last week against Ole Miss wasn't quite – there was pressure at times. It wasn't nothing, but it wasn't quite as much pressure as I think the Aggies needed to get the win. I'm a believer in overcompensating for things you do wrong against opponents that you might not need to do something against to get ready for another game where you will need to do it, if that makes sense. And what I mean is I don't think you need 5 sacks to beat Mississippi State. I don't. But I think you do to beat LSU. And I think continually working to get pressure, it's just going to keep it in the front of your mind. It's just going to keep it as something, we got to be getting pressure. We got to be getting pressure. We got to be getting after the quarterback. And I think it helps. I say this a lot talking about Coach Durkin. And him and I have had ups and downs. I've had ups and downs with my thoughts on him this year. But there were still a few times against Ole Miss where I look and I go, he's sending 3. And it was funny. I called my dad. We were driving to Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm sitting with my dad, and I go, I see the drop 3, and I go, watch, here comes a bomb, or here comes a 25-yard gain. That play, boom, big gainer. And I go, stop sending 3. I don't know how you can look at what has happened this year and you go, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's keep doing it. But point being, I think the defense getting a whole bunch of sacks reminds Coach Durkin, like, oh yeah, this is helpful. This is great. So 5+ sacks for the defense would be awesome. It's funny. I think like you say 5+ sacks and people are like, are you kidding? That's so many sacks. This Texas A&M defense has blown that out of the water multiple times this year. It's very doable against Mississippi State O-line that is okay, not great, not bad, just okay. This defensive line can do it. This front 7, safeties, whoever's coming, can get pressure and get sacks in this game. So I think 5+ sacks would be good because I think it gets your head in the right place. Hopefully getting a big win, get a win over Abilene Christian, and then you got the, hey, we need pressure against LSU in the forefront of your mind. So I want to see 5+ sacks on Saturday. I think that, and we talk about things, there's reasons for everything in life. And I think that there's another reason I'd like 5+ sacks. I would love for the Aggies to finish as the number 1 team in all college football and all in the SEC when it comes to sacks and pressure rates and all that, because we're going to talk about in segment 3 a little bit, kind of recruiting your own players. And that's a big reason why. If you want people to stick around, if you want to keep getting recruits, if you want to get guys out of the transfer portal, show them this. Show them, hey, you're a talented edge rusher? Well, look at this. We led college football in sacks this year. That stuff helps in recruiting. So I want to see the defense put up a bunch of sacks in this ballgame. The next thing I have is a little update. I don't know if I call it a key to victory, but we're going to mix it in with the topic. But a little QB1 update for both teams. I was quick. There were rumors early in the week that were being floated around. I think a lot of people heard it. I heard it. that we might not see Max Johnson the rest of the year with an injury. It sounded like it was a couple broken ribs, cracked ribs. I haven't heard much of an update on what his actual injury is. You know how Coach Fisher is with his whole L. He's banged up, all that. But that's where I was kind of leaning toward this going. Then Coach Fisher says he's day-to-day, and I go, yeah, okay, sure. I still didn't believe. Then on the SEC teleconference that I was sitting in there on, Coach Fisher said that he's been at practice. That, and he wouldn't lie about that. Coach Fisher, he's not going to lie about that. If he says he's been at practice, I believe he's been at practice. That, to me, I now lean back toward I think Max Johnson will give it a go. Which, you know what's kind of funny? I'll say this. I like to, being the person I am, if I say something that I think was a little, sometimes, I gotta walk things back on this show. And one thing, I still do think Texas A&M could beat Mississippi State with Jalen Henderson quarterbacking the Aggies, but I think I was over the top in you know what I mean? I was a little over the top there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all that listen, you know what I'm saying? I think I should have given this team a little bit more credit. I don't think Mississippi is a good football team, but obviously I don't know if you could win with a quarterback who really hasn't played much college football. I still think you could win, but I think I was a little overconfident. So I want to walk that back a little bit. But with Max Johnson out there, I do feel, very confident in the Aggies winning this football game. So I now go back to leaning toward us seeing Max Johnson out there. I think he's going to be good to go. I think he'll be out there. And if I'm wrong, I do still think the Aggies can win this game with Henderson. I do. I lose confidence, a little bit. If it was on the road and you had Henderson, I would be very, very concerned. With this being a home game, I would feel much better. But hopefully it's not a concern. Max Johnson will be out there ready to rock and roll and get a big win for the Aggies. And then Will Rogers. We can run through some different reports I've seen. So this one comes from On3. It was 20 hours ago. It's from Mississippi State's version of On3. Mississippi State has been without starting quarterback Will Rogers for multiple games now. Mike Wright has been the main guy in his absence, resulting in just one win over 3 contests. But now there is hope Rogers can get back on the field Saturday against Texas A&M. Zach Arnett, coach of Mississippi State, gave the latest update on Rogers, who's been dealing with a shoulder injury. He was described as day-to-day, but at the end of the day, the Mississippi State medical team will make the final decision. For the most part, it's similar to the quarterback status from Monday. So, and that's from, like I said, that comes from Mississippi State's On3. So does that give me will Rogers be out there? I don't know. I don't know if I lean toward yes. I don't know if I lean toward no. But if he's out there, that does give Mississippi State a boost. I don't think it gives them a big enough boost to win this game if Max Johnson's out there. I've talked about I don't agree with the way the offensive coordinator of Mississippi State and Zach Arnett's team has used Will Rogers. It hasn't looked like Will Rogers that we know and love. And I do like Will Rogers. I'm a Will Rogers fan. But, I don't. So I still think with a healthy Max Johnson playing in Kyle Field, you take down the playing at Kyle Field with Max Johnson out there, I think you take down the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I do. I think that even with Will Rogers out there, so that's going to be interesting. But it sounds like there's a good shot QB1 plays for A&M, and there's a chance QB1 goes for Mississippi State. I'll keep you updated. The more I know, I'll put stuff out on the show's Twitter, my Twitter, and the comments of the show. So we'll keep you updated on that. The last key to victory I have here in segment 1 is the secondary needs to hold Mississippi State under 150 passing yards. Now, some might say that's like a really tall ask. Well, let's pull up Mississippi State's games this year, and let's talk about where do we fall. Is that going to be hard to do? So, in the win over Arkansas, where they won that riveting game 7-3, Mike Wright had 85 passing yards. In the Auburn game, Mike Wright had 160 passing yards. In the Kentucky game, Max Wright had 78 passing yards, and then they put in another quarterback who had 67 for a total of 145 passing yards. So that's kind of where they're at. Now let's go back to a game where Will Rogers is out there against LSU, where they lost 41-14, 103 passing yards. Then I think he went down in the Western Michigan game. So Will Rogers in the Alabama game, 107 passing yards. You're getting what I'm saying. Even though I think Will Rogers is a good quarterback, I don't think the system fits him well. And I think that this secondary has got to hold Mississippi State under $150 passing. That would be great. And it's funny because you hear that, and I'm sure y'all who haven't looked at the numbers yet, which like kind of was me before I looked at them, were like 150. That's like, I mean, everybody's able to throw for 150. Well, Mississippi State has not a whole bunch this year. So that is something to pay attention to. I think it'd be great if the secondary could hold down this Mississippi State passing attack and try and make them beat you at the run. And I don't think they can do that. I think that's going to be the way you win this game on defense. We are going to talk about why you can't have a whole bunch of penalties, some turnovers, what we want to see from the running game, and why you need to force feed Anaya Smith. We'll do all that coming up right here at Locked On Aggies. First, we have got to talk about our wonderful friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts guaranteed for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So back to some keys to victory for the Aggies against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I have here limit the penalties. I think if, 5 penalties, maybe even 6, I'd be okay with that. Let's look at the Aggies penalty numbers over the year. It's been a team where penalties have definitely at times been a problem. So let's pull up against Ole Miss. The Aggies had 9 penalties for 73 yards. Against South Carolina, the Aggies had 2 penalties. Wow. I didn't realize they were that good penalty-wise. 2 penalties there, so that's a good game. Against Tennessee, 11 penalties for 90 yards. You get the theme. I won't go through every game. You get the theme I'm saying. So a couple good games penalty-wise. Well, one, I guess. I didn't go through the whole thing, but it's great. But penalties, there's 2 things, and I have these things. I have these things mixed up, together here. And these are 2 things that lead to upsets. This game, I haven't looked at the line, but I will pull that up now because now I'm curious, and today is a Friday show. The line is 18.5 points. That line gives me confidence that Max Johnson is going to be out there playing, because I don't think it would be quite that if Max Johnson wasn't going to play. But I want to rope these 2 things in together, and that's the 5 or less penalties and then no turnovers on offense. This you just don't want to give a team like this opportunities to have hope, opportunities to stick around. You want the second half team to go out there and be like, okay, we have a couple more games left on the schedule, and then that is it. We can go home, be done with this thing. So turning the football over a whole bunch leads to that. Create a lot of penalties, holdings, pass interference, holdings and pass interferences on defense. Then on offense, holding penalties, false starts, things like that is what, stall drives on offense, keep them going on defense. Penalties let a team stay around in the football game. So do turnovers. Limit them. If you have 5 or less penalties in this game and don't turn it over, I think the Aggies should win this one. I almost want to say with ease. I do. I don't. Y'all. I mean, someone commented this, and it's a good point. The Aggies need to show up. The Aggies have got to show up. There's no question about that. You got to show up and play football. But this is a bad team that the Aggies should beat if they go out and play a good, solid football game. So those two things, we want to see them limited. The next thing I have here is I'd love to see the Aggies run for $120, regardless on the status of Le'Veon Moss, which means if it's Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels, if Le'Veon Moss is out there, I would love to see, and I don't know, maybe he'll get ruled out at some point. So when I'm recording this, I'll update y'all if that happens. But as of now, I haven't seen that. I'd love to see him run for, the Aggies run for $120 and maybe a couple touchdowns on the ground. I just think, we talk about you're going to have to be able to – the LSU game, I'll tell you this right now, that is going to be a gunslinging game for Max Johnson. It is not going to be a game where I'm worried about – I don't care what you do running the football in that game because you're going to have to throw it to win that one. So, in the end of the day, that's what's going to matter. But in this ball game, I'd like to see you be able to run the football just because we want to pad some stats here, which will help with recruiting your own team, which will help with recruiting transfers. You want to see, good numbers in the rushing attack. So I'd like to see the fellas, Amari Daniels and Le'Veon Moss, or Reuben Owens, Le'Veon Moss if he's out there, but run for $120 in this game, maybe $140, something great. I mean, I'd love to see a game where the Aggies just run the football well, take some pressure off Max Johnson. He doesn't have to get hit all game long because even if Max Johnson's healthy, like it plays, he's still, I don't think 100%. So especially, like I said, I'm pretty confident the injury's in the rib area, in the chest. So we need to keep him healthy, keep him safe, and make sure that the offensive line isn't letting him get hammered all game long. Because the Mississippi State defensive line knows what he's dealing with. So they're going to want to get after him. So we'd love to see the running game do that. The next thing I have here is don't miss a field goal. Now, once again, I'm not taking this. This is not a shot at Randy for the Ole Miss game. But I do think this is going to be a game where I don't think it's going to be crazy high scoring. I think this is one where I think, and I'll give a score prediction at the very end. But I think, I'll go ahead and give it because we're going to talk about something different in segment 3. I think that the Aggies win this game 28-10. So, I got touchdowns here, but point is, don't miss field goals in this game. Once again, those are the little things that can give a team momentum. First drive of the game, right? You drive it down, you stall, let's kick a field goal. You miss it. That's just a little bit of momentum to Mississippi State, and you don't want to give them momentum. You don't want to give underdogs momentum, and that's what we talked about. Penalties, turnovers, missed field goals, missed opportunities to score points. That gives teams hope. That gives teams momentum. Don't let them have it. I have succeed in the red zone. Want to see now? Kind of funny because we talk about don't miss field goals. I want to see touchdowns, not field goals. I only want to see Randy running out there for like 45 plus yarders and extra points. I don't want to see him out there for 30, 35 yard field goals. I just don't want to see it. So score touchdowns when you're in the red zone. We want to see touchdowns, not field goals in the red zone, which will be great if you can do that. And then I have force feed Anias. I just think you need to keep him going. And we're getting to a point, too, with, you can assume Anias is going to look for professional opportunities after this with the NFL, after the season. Let's make him some money. Let's force him. Let's get him 120 yards these next 3 games. Give him, get him 2 or 3 more touchdowns. Just give some more stuff to put on pro tape. Because Anias Smith is a good football player who has devoted a lot to Texas A&M. And, I think that feeding him and getting him some last big games. It kind of feels like when y'all ever seen that video of Gronkowski and Brady's like, Tom, I need one more pass to get my bonus for $1 million. It's like, that's what we need to do for Anias. Feed him the ball, feed him, get the football to him, let him score some touchdowns, get him some yards, get him some receptions to just help build more and more stats on the year for NFL coaches to see. And then the last thing I have here before we talk about a little interesting topic in segment 3 is come on, guys. This crowd on Saturday, let's do it big time. I know we're not happy with the season. I know we're not happy with the coaching staff, but these young men have fought hard for us fans, for this team, for this university all season long, and it just hasn't been a great year. They've lost a lot of one-possession games, which we know this. I saw a stat. It was like top 25 rankings if every one-possession game flipped the opposite way, and Texas A&M's 8-1, and I'm like, oh, are you kidding? Or it was like one-possession game / overtime game, and I was like, man, that's So point being, this season could have gone way differently had a few things gone the Aggies' way. I know we're not going to play the what-if game, but the point is, as hard as it is for us fans to be losing games, it's harder on these student athletes, these young men. So be with them. And I'm not questioning the 12th man. I know it's me out in full force. I'm simply saying, let's show out for this team. Let's show out for this ball game and let them know what we're all about. So I want to see a big crowd in this ball game, which I have no doubt in my mind will be there on Saturday. I've seen something in the comments at Locked On Aggies on YouTube, an interesting topic and a fair one, talking about, should we be worried about talented players on the roster currently thinking about maybe hitting the portal after the season? We're going to talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, we're going to talk about our wonderful friends over at Jace Medical. Jace Medical is an interesting new product that came out. They have two different services. They have the Jace case and they have Jace Daily. The Jace case comes with all these life-saving antibiotics that can help you in a pinch, help you in a tough situation, help you whenever you need them. And then Jace Daily supplies you with your daily medications. It gives you whatever you might be taking. It can give you a year's supply of your daily medication so that you have it just in case of whatever were to happen. I love the idea of this company. It came about during the COVID pandemic, and it just is a great all-around idea. This is a verified customer and what they had to say about Jace. I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with the year supply. I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than normal pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. Go check out Jace Medical. It's going to keep you safe. And like you said, it's going to save you some money. If you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily med, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's jacemedical.com and promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. So, last conversation before we call it a week here at Locked On Aggies, and a real quick one. And this is something, next week we're going to play an Abilene Christian, which isn't, a crazy fun week to break down a ball game. We will have more of these big picture conversations, and I'll go more in depth into this. But I wanted to kind of put it out there and get some people's thoughts for next week. So, leave comments about this conversation in the YouTube comments. Give me your thoughts on it, and we'll have a more significant conversation about it next week. But one thing that's really important in this new world of college football is recruiting. I hate that you have to do it, is recruiting who's already on your roster. I'm just going to be honest with you. I am worried about guys like Evan Steward, Conner Weigman, Walter Nolen, Reuben Owens. Could those guys transfer to an Alabama, transfer to a Georgia, transfer to an LSU? I mean, if I'm Evan Steward, and once again, I'm not, this is just the reality of the situation we're in. We gotta be completely honest with ourselves here, be unbiased here as fans. But if I'm Evan Steward, would I rather be where I am right now or at LSU based on what they're doing and what can help me best, get myself to the NFL? The answer is LSU. Now, obviously, we all hope that he's going to stick around. He's going to be here for a long time, no question. But at the end of the day, this concerns me. I am worried about losing players, and that's why, get 5+ sacks. So you can say, well, Walter, why would you want to leave? We led the college football in sacks. Well, where are you going to go? Well, you can do things like that. I think that stuff helps recruit players. Same thing with Evan Steward. I know he's a little banged up. If he is good to go for the last few games of the season, get him 150 yards a game. Get him 4 more touchdowns. Get him where he's like, yeah, why would you want to go? You had 900 yards and 6 touchdowns on the year after 3 big games. Finish it. Stay here. Let's do this right next year. You have to recruit your own players, which is just the world of college football we currently live in. But it's something you have to do. So we need to see Coach Fisher, I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to recruit your own players to stick around nowadays. So that is a concern for me. That's what I want. And I'm not going to go crazy in depth into this conversation because I want to save that for next week. But let me know in the comments what y'all think about this. Should we be concerned about some of these talented players on the roster leaving? Maybe some of the talented 5-star guys who are still on the roster from that 2022 class, but maybe aren't playing as much. Should we be worried about any of that stuff? Do y'all think they're going to go somewhere else? Could they transfer? What are our thoughts there? It's a great conversation. I just wanted to lay it out a little bit because next week we're going to go more in depth to it. So everything I just kind of said, let me know comment on YouTube what your thoughts are on that and how I should break it down and what I should discuss when I further go into this next week. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Another beautiful week here at the show. I really appreciate it. Every day I get to do this is a blessing. So thank you all so much for tuning in and making this a possibility. I really do appreciate you all with everything I have in my heart and soul. I get to do this every day, and I couldn't do it without y'all, the listeners. So thank you. We'll have a reaction show coming to you either Saturday evening or Sunday morning, breaking down the game on Saturday. Everybody have an outstanding weekend. Enjoy the football game. It's going to be a fun one. So enjoy it. Have a great time. Hope y'all get to go. If you don't enjoy watching it on TV, have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you for the reaction show either Saturday night or Sunday morning.